And good evening, everyone. So it's Richard here for Metaverse News Network. Tonight, Shauna will not be with us, unfortunately. She is traveling over this holiday period. So tonight, I get to spend the evening with one of my closer friends and collaborators, Jeremy Nathan Tisser. Now, Jeremy and I have worked on Kulu Treks together. Jeremy was the scorer that did the trailer for the one that you can see. It's actually on my profile. Jeremy was the scorer for that, and he won a Telly Award for it. So we're very proud to have Jeremy here with us, and subsequently, Jeremy and I also are collaborators with an NFT project. So it's fun to actually have Jeremy here with us to chat about his experience and what his thoughts are about NFTs and the development of how art and artists now get to operate in this new world. Jeremy, would you like to tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, and so on?
Sure, I'm Jeremy Tisser, as you can see below right here. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California, so I'm one of the few natives in the entertainment industry. We call ourselves unicorns. Uh, and I got into this because I have a background in virtual reality. I was part of the original boom back in 2011, 2012. Scored numerous VR projects. I scored Raw Data and Battle Wake and some of the really early games like Zombies on the Holodeck and Wild Skies and a few others. I did an augmented reality iPhone game back in 2011 before,
Oh,
like,
that's okay. So that's very early to be playing in the metaverse.
yeah, so this is about 5 years before Pokemon Go. We did a zombie
Wow.
game with that I scored with a big band because they wanted funny zombies. So I said, let's do jazz. We'll make it fun. Um,
You're kidding.
no, so yeah, it's called Zombie SC. It's up on Spotify. You can hear it. It's just a fun track. And yeah, so my passion for future tech has kind of been around since I was a kid. Like
Hmm.
kids get into the idea of space, and I was into the idea of Mars, like back in the '90s, and I've just always been fascinated by futuristic things. And
Hmm.
I have an electric car, and I was in the virtual reality space back in 2011. It was a project called Project Holodeck, which later rebranded as Servios, and then went on to make Raw Data, Sprint Vector, Creed, and all these other projects. And back when we were
Wasn't that one of the very first VR games?
first commercial VR games, yeah.
Wow.
And but Project Holodeck was cool because we had this bicycle helmet. It was a USC project originally, and the
Hmm.
idea of it was that you could walk around a 12-foot by 12-foot space, which today is like that's normal virtual reality. But this is before Oculus Rift. This was before HTC Vive.
Hmm.
This Palmer was still building his developer kit at home, trying to figure out the Kickstarter. He had a
Hmm.
bicycle helmet with a PlayStation Move controller just sticking out the top, and this old VR head-mounted display that was attached to the helmet, and a Razer Hydra hand controllers that was attached to a vest in the middle, and a laptop in a backpack. And then you had two of us in these two circles next to each other in terrible VR setup, but allowed us to
Mm.
like swing lightsabers and and in VR with the Razer Hydras and shoot zombies. And this was 2011, 2012, somewhere around there.
That's nuts. Considering I didn't put on my first VR headset till 2017, I want to say.
Yeah. So I've
And
been
you
in
were
this
already playing with it, what, 2011?
something like that. Yeah. I've got my Oculus Dev kit in the house, still sitting in the closet. Gotten a lot of mileage out of it. and
It's
yeah,
funny though, once you start VR gaming, it's very hard to go back to other forms of gaming.
it is. And it's a real workout.
Hmm.
Some of the older games, especially like Sprint Vector, if anyone has a chance to pick that up on Oculus Rift or HTC Vive, because it's not on Quest. But that one, it's parkour in virtual reality, and that was
What?
in 2016, 2017.
Did you score that?
No, no. I didn't. My friend Spencer did, but that was from Servios. They were working on that like on the side while we were focused on raw data. But
Hmm.
that game is wild. That one
Yeah.
is your arms will be dead after about 5 minutes. But it's a great game. And
uh, my
sorry,
my experience into it was all the shooter ups in the beginning, and you end up and your arms ache, and you get the shoulder ache on the arms because you've just been pointing these things at the wall from stupid o'clock in the morning because you got addicted to this random shooter up.
morning. Well, with raw data, what was fun was you had pistols, you had I think you had a big shotgun, and then
Mm.
there's one character where you could pull out a sword. So you just pull out your sword and just take out these robots with a sword.
And so you were actually scoring these things, these games early on. That's an interesting experience that I don't think many people kind of think about for the level of emotion that that brings to the game. I mean, how does that actually work? Because if I'm playing one of these games, I'm in it for 10 to 12 hours, and you haven't written 10 to 12 hours worth of music.
No, no, I'd
So,
probably written 60 to 70 minutes of music for raw data. It was the whole point was they wanted you to feel like an 80s action star.
mhm.
So my temp was like I had everything from Star Wars to Star Trek the motion picture. Total Recall was one of the big examples they gave me, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall. Uh,
Yeah.
so that was fun. It was just you know we I've heard some people say like play in the back, don't get in the way of the sound effects, and we were like, let's go the other way. Let's make this a cinematic experience. Let's go in your face and over the top with it, and make it the whole experience because why not? And that's part of the charm of the game.
Well, it's fun how something that you think of in the beginning ends up being a key to the game as you go forward.
Yeah,
So that's a long time to have been in the meta space with actually out being in the meta space.
right. Yeah, it's been about 10 years now, and so seeing metaverse stuff just kind of take off the way it has, and where it's heading is it's crazy. It really is the Wild West again, and I have no clue where it's going at this point. I just know that blockchain is brilliant, and I missed the boat on that in
So
college.
I have a question for you. So if you were playing around with VR and AR and so on back in 2011, when did you first get introduced to Bitcoin?
2009, 2008, 2009. Yeah, yeah, you
So you
already
fund so
years
you
ago.
so
We're
you
going.
funded all of your own music with your Bitcoin, right? No.
I did. I was in my fraternity house, and my friend just walks into the house and comes in and goes, "Guys, you need to get this new app called Coinbase, and you need to go put $100 into it and just buy 100 Bitcoin. It's $1 a
A
coin right now.
dollar a coin.
$1 a coin is like it's the future. It's digital currency, and they're mining it in these compute." And I'm like, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. I'm like, what I said, I straight up said, I said, what am I going to walk into a Starbucks and pull out my phone and pay for a frappuccino with like 4 Bitcoin? And he's like, that's how it's going to be in the future.
Well, 4 Bitcoin is a bit of an over exaggeration there. You might be paying it with like 0.0000004.
But back then it was $1 a coin, so it was 4 Bitcoin, $4, whatever. And he said, "Yeah, it's the future. That's what it's going to be." And I was like, "You're crazy. You're out of your mind." I mean, this was what 2008. The world had just crashed already, and the record industry had imploded. So I was in the middle of figuring out what I was going to do with my life because the record industry was dead as we knew it at the time. So I was in
Hmm.
the process of pivoting to film scoring. And then
Hmm.
this happened, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is blockchain? What? This is a weird word. I don't understand.
Hmm.
And to put it in perspective, a few months ago, I was up in the Bay Area visiting my uncle.
Hmm.
And we were in Palo Alto looking for Korean barbecue, and we
As
happened,
you do.
yeah, as you do. And we were in this shopping center that was just all these places that all had like 5,000 reviews on Yelp with 4 stars,
Hmm.
like just and little local hole in the walls. and every single one of them had a sign out on the door that said Bitcoin accepted here.
Yep. Yep. See, I wasn't quite as bad. I looked at investing in Bitcoin at $300 a coin.
Yeah, if I had done $100 back then, I would have about 5 million in the bank right now, assuming I never sold along the way.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yep. 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 I will say this though, it has made me watch the development of NFTs a little bit closer this time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the other part of this is you and I have both been in an industry that's already been disrupted by digitization.
Yes.
I mean, I know that every person having a digital camera on them at all time has affected my business dramatically. And I'm sure you were still in the music business when Napster and all of that started going on and going sideways. So now it's interesting to see the financial sector go through and have to deal with the same set of titanic infrastructural changes that we went through. I mean, I know for me, watching and working through transitioning from analog to digital with photography was nuts. And the amount of things that changed in everything because of that digitization. And it's weird that the world says this new thing coming in is actually new. It's just a new cycle in a different industry. But what did you feel watching the comparison between like this transfer to this more digital money away from fiat money compared to what you remember the transition being from analog music to digital music?
So music has kind of always had that shift happening. I mean, think back to when digital synth or analog synthesizers first hit
Mm-hmm.
the market, in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beach Boys came in and started like really integrating that into their sound and
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with it. And then you look into the television world and the film world, and you've got the original Doctor Who, for
Mm-hmm.
example, from the 60s. Um, and that theme that was just all analog synthesizers back then. And then there was a string of shows and movies that were just fixated on analog synthesizers. And so you had all
Mm-hmm.
these orchestral composers who were not out of work, but had less work than they previously did because there's this new thing and this new sound, and people want to go with that. Then you hit the 70s, and Saturday Night Fever comes along. Now everyone wants to make movies with songs that are focused on like taking a band's music and making a movie out of it and using songs instead of scores. So now you got
Mm-hmm.
all the composers are out of work. Then the 80s comes in, there's more synths, and Blade Runner comes along, and all this stuff. And so there's always been these trends and changes that happen along the way. And when I was coming onto the scene, it was 2005. I was already booking concerts around the San Fernando Valley. I had my own little production company, and I was in bands and playing all over Hollywood and Sunset. And so then I was music business major, Cal State Northridge, looking into going into record labels and all that kind of thing. And 2000, then Napster was already there, and the lawsuit was already happening. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the record industry kind of chose to fight the digital world, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, digital won. And
Mm-hmm.
so then you had iTunes came along, and you could upload your CDs to iTunes and put them on a little player. Right when I was in high school, and there was all this pushback and stuff that was going on. And then 2008, the market crashed. You know, it kind of took the industry with it, and I pivoted to film scoring at that point. I had no
Mm-hmm.
clue what I was doing until I switched majors, and then
Mm-hmm.
just worked hard and learned about it. And then Netflix came along and just changed the game again and said we're all right. Instead of renting DVDs and killing Blockbuster, now we're gonna start making our own shows and our own content. And so, okay. They were trying to build their infrastructure, but now that means there's no advertisements. There's
Mhm.
no commercials. That's where our royalties came from. Our royalty revenue came from commercial sales. So that's why if you're scoring a show that's on 7 p.m. on Friday or Saturday nights on NBC or CBS on
Mhm.
cable, you are making a lot of money. And if it goes to syndication, where you're just getting rerun after rerun after rerun, that's how composers earn their living on the downtimes. That's how people
Mhm.
were able to successfully buy a house, support their families, was on syndication and reruns. Now, Netflix pretty much took that out. Now it's streaming, and you basically earn your royalties on the initial boom of a show. When it first comes out,
Mhm.
that's the peak. And then maybe
Mhm.
when season two comes out, people rewatch again season one, and you'll get another little boom plus season two. But then
Mhm.
afterwards, it falls off because there's no replays. It's just based on who's picking up the remote and turning that show back on again.
Mhm.
So the interesting part about the crypto space and NFTs is we as artists can create something and we can mint it up, which is basically just uploading it to the blockchain. And every time, and then we can sell it, and someone will buy it, and we make money. Woohoo! Now, if that person resells it later, if it increases in value as our careers blossom
Mhm.
and expand, that piece of art we created increases in value. Previously, if I hold a painting, right, and I buy it off an artist, let's say I'm rich and I buy a painting for $1 million. That artist gets paid $1 million. If I later choose to resell it for 1.5 million, I just made 1.5 million. But with NFTs and blockchain, if I sell it for 1.5 million, 10%, 15%, whatever the number that is in the contract
Mhm.
online, gets kicked back to the artist. So you have an endless stream of residual payments coming in real time, and you
Mhm.
don't have to track anyone down. You don't have to get any lawyers on it. It's digitized. It happens immediately. It goes right to your wallet, and I think that is incredible.
See, now for me, I was always able to see, due to the art side of it, the direct, easy pathway for photography onto NFTs. It makes sense. It's a digital art. I do it myself. It's not a collaborative art. It's just I take the picture, I come back, I mint it as the NFT, and someone else can buy my pretty picture.
Right.
I've always seen that process quite easily. Now, music is a little bit more convoluted and touches a few more people along the way. How do you see the process of music integrating with NFTs?
That's a harder one. I don't yet know if music on its own. So integrating music with NFTs, I've seen some platforms that are specifically handling or streaming music and
Hmm.
using the individual address that's assigned to the NFT.
Hmm.
Every time that the piece of music gets played, you can track the number of plays,
Hmm.
know exactly how much it's earning, and can pay out. So that's one thing. But that's
Hmm.
standard music streaming can work on the blockchain. As for NFTs, you can sell an album for $10. You've got 12 tracks, sell it for $10 or $1 a track, just like the older days of iTunes,
Hmm.
before it became Apple Music. And each one of those songs and the album is recorded on the blockchain. So then, before I go to Tower Records, peruse the aisles, find a CD I like, and I go pay $12, $15 for the CD, and I keep it. And then if I
Hmm.
decided I was bored of it one day, and I go down to Amoeba Music in Hollywood and sell it to
Hmm.
them for $5, and then they'd resell it for 8, and that's it. The artist never got a piece of any of that. And
Hmm.
for years, record labels and artists were trying to figure out how could they get a piece of album resales. And I
Hmm.
think NFTs is how you do it.
Hmm.
Problem is that all the platforms that currently exist are very ugly looking. They're not user friendly. You have to be adept to crypto. You have to have an external wallet, not Coinbase, not Voyager, probably not crypto.com. You have to actually have like MetaMask or Trust Wallet, one of the I'm going to call it underground for the sake of our conversation, because most of my friends have no idea what I'm talking about. So yeah,
Isn't it strange? Okay, so now I have to say for everyone, so Jeremy and I have kind of delved into this NFT world along a similar timeline and a similar approach in the last 6 months. And I remember on a phone call between us, what, about 4 or 5 months ago, 5 6 months ago, sitting there going, "So, dude, have you heard of NFTs?"
I'm like, yeah, kind of know a little bit about it.
And then we kind of looked at each other and goes, shall we actually delve down this rabbit hole? Do we actually have the time and space to play this game? And now we're so deep in the rabbit hole that both of us cannot get out. And it's been a fascinating journey to watch someone else learn and delve into it as fast and as much as I have.
Yeah, it really is the future. Like, I mean, I remember back then we were talking about, like, you were trying to explain to me how it works, and it was kind of confusing the way you explained it. I'm sorry.
I've gotten better, by the way.
Good. Okay. Now that I know what it is, like, it makes sense. But before it was like NFT. So what? It's a digital file in the computer. And I'll be honest, since I've learned it now, and I tell people, they say that exact same sentence to me. So what? I'm going to pay for a digital file I can take a screenshot of? No, you're going to pay for a print. It's just a digital version of it and a one of a kind, or
Yeah,
whatever.
the idea of digital scarcity. You know what I mean? The idea of digital scarcity is something that people haven't fully got their head around because of how they already replicate. You know what I mean? It means nothing for me to kind of copy off a screen and go. It means nothing for someone to take a recording of your piece of music and off they go.
Well,
And that's part of culture nowadays.
there's a couple different things about it though. There's digital scarcity, which is the idea of a photograph, a time lapse, some sort of digital artwork that is minted on the blockchain and sold as like one of five, or as NBA Top Shot does, one of 499, and they sell each one. Seriously, I saw NBA Top Shot has an NFT that's a video of I think it's a Kevin is it Durant. I think Kevin Durant slam dunk,
Mhm.
and there's 499 of them, and they're selling them for 20,000 a piece, and people are paying for them. 400 of them were sold. Like, people will pay this. It is crazy. But then there's the other side of it
But I
when
mean, here suddenly you stop me. Sorry to stop you there, but there we're suddenly talking about just celebrity status because that to me is a celebrity cash grab. What is the utility in that?
so here's where I'm getting to it was then you have the digital scarcity, but then you've got the idea of like I said, album sales,
Hmm.
right? Right now we're only on streaming.
Hmm.
That's the thing. You pay $5 a month, $10 a month, and you can stream unlimited stuff you want. Artists don't make a damn thing. Spotify royalties suck. Tidal pays the best. They pay about 10 cents a stream, and there's not that many people that subscribe to Tidal compared to Spotify or Apple Music. Those are the two big ones, and the royalties are not livable. Even radio play is almost impossible now. It used to be, that your publicist would get you on the radio, you'd be like doing all this stuff. Now they have people that charge like 40 grand and they say we'll try to get you on, but no promises. And mostly radio stations just play artists that people are familiar with now, because that's how they're trying to keep their listeners, their listening base. So everything is struggling. So, for example, now you're writing an album, 6 tracks. You're gonna sell it for $5 on the blockchain, or each track for a dollar 50, whatever. And it's an NFT, and people can buy it. But the the interfaces have to improve. It can't just be a a dark black screen that's futuristic looking and connect your wallet. If this is going to become mainstream, then the interfaces have to evolve. They have to be so simple that someone who's currently using Spotify can go here and say, I'm going to support this artist and
Hmm.
give them $5, and buy their album like I used to, and that is mine. Now I have it. Um, and if I get bored and I choose to resell it, the artist gets, they'll get 10% of that. So maybe
Hmm.
they'll get 50 cents back for every album resale, which is more than they were making before.
See,
Um,
this is where I see another problem as an artist, because I know as an artist, and we've spoken about this often enough, that all of the artists out there are really complaining about how taken for granted their work is and how little percentage they get back from their work. I mean, the UFC are going through a lawsuit of their fighters suing the UFC, saying the fighters need more cash from the company because that's what it's all based on. But it all falls under the same kind of thing of big parent companies like Apple or like Getty. I'm going to use the example for photography because it's the same thing. In stock photography, you can make money on stock photography, but it's not going to be much, and you're going to battle to maintain a living on it that's worth living. So here are all of these companies that are doing exceedingly well, providing a service that is making a decent amount of money. Because I've also been a marketer who's then gone and had to buy stock imagery, and it's not cheap. And knowing how little of that goes to the photographer, what's the incentive on the other side? Because great, NFTs for the artists are fantastic. We earn more money.
right.
Great. Why are other people going to adopt it? Why are the buyers of these assets going to adopt them?
Well, that's the struggle, right? How do you convert someone from paying $5 a month on Apple Music or Spotify to $5 an hour, going back to the old ways essentially? And I don't know how to do that with music. That's why I think music is going to have a very large uphill battle coming up with this stuff. I think people are going to try to capitalize on it, and they're not going to. The most people trying to capitalize on blockchain today don't
Hmm.
understand what blockchain is all about. And I'm
How
being
so?
very picky about what I say because I have a project I'm working on that it has NDAs, and I can't say a lot right now, especially on the public internet. I am working on something for music that will help, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And hopefully, in the next few months, I can come back on here and say more about it. But in terms of music as an art
You
form,
know we're always here to listen.
and bringing it to blockchain, like with photography, you can absolutely upload a photograph as an NFT, and someone could buy it, they could admire it. We talked about this 6 months ago. I'm sure if it doesn't exist yet, it will soon. Some sort of digital picture frame that's like full size, the size of your television, or maybe you connect your TV to your wallet and you just throw your NFT photograph up on an HD TV above your
Hmm.
fireplace, and you can have this beautiful one of one, like very expensive photograph just up there when you want. And then when you want to watch TV, you just switch it.
Hmm.
That's the thing. But how are you going to do that with music? Music's not visual; it's a listening experience. So
Hmm.
enter Richard and Jeremy with our time lapses,
Okay,
and
yeah, we'll get into that one because that's my favorite.
yeah, so I think music is best served when it's accompanying something, right? When you go to the gym, you
Hmm.
pop in your headphones, listen to music to get pumped. When you go into the movie has music in it because there's an emotional connection. And there
Hmm.
are people that'll say, "Oh, music's not that important. There's all this music out there already. I can just throw music into my movie and call it a day. Why would I need to pay someone to write something original?" Well,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if someone's writing it for you, if it's been written previously and you're just using it, whatever it is, you are putting music to something. Sorry, this is going opposite. Music to a picture, right? To elicit a response from the
Hmm.
audience, whether it's emotional or whatever. whatever kind of emotion it is, there is a reason to have that music there. It fills the space.
Hmm.
What does it fill the space with emotion. So music on its own, in a unless you're creating a listening experience for yourself and you want that, it kind of needs to accompany something in the digital world.
Hmm.
So where
Oh, look,
music go, I don't know, but I like what we're doing because we're doing something unique, and that's
well,
fun.
shall we tell people what we're actually doing? Because we've asked around it a little bit. Let's actually tell them. So what happened was I was getting into looking to create NFTs, and I was watching a large amount of the NFTs that were available at the time, and a lot of them were moving 3D items. Now I've gone into kind of the computer generated images with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which I'm a huge fan of. But at that stage, there was a lot of movement involved in the NFTs, and I was like, well, photography is not really very movement orientated. How do I kind of figure a way around this? And we just moved houses, and I was watching the sky here in Oklahoma and all these big sunsets, and I was like, okay, let me start doing some time lapse photos to try and put them out to NFTs. And then I showed one to Jeremy, and things start happening because it's Jeremy.
Yes, it did.
And I'll let him fill you on his side for this.
Okay, so basically, you sent me this NFT, or sorry, this time lapse of, ironically, Oklahoma.
It is a bit ironic.
It's very flat, and there's there. But there was this one spot that he found that with great cloud movement that day, and I said, "What if we put some music to this?"
And I went, yes, please.
Okay, that's the rest of it. And so then I put some music to it, and since I have this orchestra session coming up with Macedonia, and probably is a good time to. Thank you, Sam. um, Sam Strum, by the way, for everyone, he just commented, and he is a brilliant financial advisor and a very dear friend, and he is the reason that I know Richard. So everyone should.
Yes, so thanks, Sam. You're at the root of all evil, right? Connecting these crazy people together.
Sam, it's all your fault. Um, so I have this session coming up for these other NFTs, but then Richard had this family thing happen and was back in South Africa and sent me some photos he took from there, and I went, oh my god. So the time lapses from South Africa are going to be incredible, and I'm actually going to use this to transition into some. Why am I? To transition into some tips about. Don't worry, Sam, we got you.
That's
Um,
all right, Sam. We'll have lunch.
Good tips for introducing NFTs, right? Richard sent me a link, I think this morning or last night, of this photographer who's got some brilliant photos on OpenSea. For those who don't know, OpenSea is one of the top NFT platforms. It's the largest one in the world. You can pretty much find anything and everything there. It's really easy to list your stuff, and it's a great way to get started with NFTs. And these photographs are beautiful. The skies are animated, the water may be animated, so that it just adds movement because that's something you can't do with a real photograph that's just going to sit up on your wall. So they digitized it and made it that. But they aren't moving, and that's the problem. He's got something like what 50 or 80 pictures up there.
Yeah, they were actually quite good. I mean, I think he'd gone in and used. There's a 3D product now that you push and you kind of drop and drag across a photo, and it'll make those lovely waterfalls all digitally for you. It's kind of like he'd done that. It wasn't really a time lapse. It was more
No, it's a
they'd made those digital slides with the clouds.
right. So, but my point is that the reason I think that they're sitting there is because if you're just going to throw a digital file up, call it an NFT, and try and make a lot of money on it, let's take it back to your original question. What is the incentive for the buyer to come in and
Hmm.
pick yours? You know, it's a lot tougher to sell a digital file on a computer, I think, than it is to sell something from a gallery that's tangible, that's physical, that you are grabbing this and taking it home with you, and no one else has this. It
Look,
might,
that's the thing.
it might
Art
be available
sells.
on the computer, but it's hard to grasp that concept. So, and people are cluttering the space right now. So, if someone out there wants to create an NFT, whether it's animation, a GIF, a JPEG, whatever it is, don't just be unique about it, but what are you offering? And I'm going to tell everyone also, don't offer your royalties. That goes against everything that we are trying to fight against. The whole point is that we as artists can earn passive income now, and it's all trackable on the blockchain. No one, once it is minted and that contract reads you get 10% of every resale, that cannot be changed. The only way it can get changed is if that NFT gets burned or destroyed. That's the only way to get rid of it. You can't delete it, you can't edit it, you can't change it. So by giving away our royalties, we're essentially screwing ourselves altogether. So what Richard and I are doing is creating a series of time lapses. I have to keep moving my hands to get this right. So this first set is going to be 6 time lapses, 5 of each. The price is to be determined, and if you can acquire the entire set, you'll get some tangible physical bonuses from Richard, myself, and our collaborators that we'll send you in the mail, all signed.
So you haven't brought up the final one because I mean I think that the joy for me as a photographer that what these NFTs are allowing us is the opportunity to collaborate across arts. You
Yes.
know, where before was a photographer collaborating with a music composer, and we've also added now, recently in the last couple of weeks, we've added that we're going to be engaging with a singing artist as well. So we'll have 3 separate artist collaborations on the same NFT because I mean we're in a very strange place in our lifetime as an artist. We're in that part where we're just bouncing around, breaking through into that next kind of level up. And there's lots of people out there at our kind of level. And I think we've always wanted with what we do to bring other people with us. So this third layer that we've now brought on to every single one of these series have another artist come and join us has been an extra layer of what's the right word, Jeremy? Enjoyment to bringing more people with us.
Enjoyment and just, we doing what we can to help. The
Mm.
pandemic was hard, for your family, for my family. And, you know, it's not something that we share on public.
Mm. Live public radio.
Everyone had a hard time, and everyone had their own set of difficulties, and not everyone talked about it openly.
Hmm. Especially
People,
artists.
yeah, especially artists, and especially artists who have artist friends, and they
Hmm.
see their friends struggling, so they don't want to talk about their stuff. But we
Hmm.
all we all had a hard time. We all had suffered a lot of loss. We all lost work, jobs, money, whatever it was. So for you know your docu series,
Hmm.
that was the opportunity to bring in multiple artists and collaborate and help everyone that that had been affected.
Hmm.
This is my way of bringing in other musicians, other artists, other talent that complement what I do musically,
Hmm.
can enhance the project, and can also help maybe with their own careers by getting involved into something that maybe they were afraid of, like blockchain, that just didn't make sense. They didn't understand it. And I
Hmm.
can help bring them into this and get them excited about a new form of revenue that previously didn't exist or didn't make sense. Musicians. And I'm not
Hmm.
going to say who we've got in yet, because I'm going to wait on that. We'll wait till
Well,
closer.
we'll mic drop that some other place.
I drop that when my publicist says it's okay.
We
Uh,
have to still deal with management, right?
but can we talk about the rhinos with it?
I think we'll also mic drop that one. But the thing I want to talk about more than that though is the most people don't understand that as an artist you don't get to earn all of your money in one place.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's one of the things that comes with being an artist is you have to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like my wife or all of our friends in New York when we were in New York who were artists either had a bar gig, a catering gig, a coffee gig, a side gig that they were running to get them small amounts of money while they auditioned, while they worked, and only after working for maybe 6 months, then they'd get one paid gig that was inside of their own art. The people don't realize how empowering being able to earn a passive income from something like an NFT is for an artist, because it frees us up to carry on concentrating and practicing and being able to get better at what we do, because we don't have to go and get other forms of income.
Well, that's a good point. A lot of people know, and a lot of people don't know. I'm on camera in La La Land. I was one of the drummers in the movie. I'm in the freeway on the freeway scene in the blue
In
truck.
the only scene that's worth it in La La Land, in that first beginning musical.
I'm in the back of the truck playing a marching band, and it's very shadowed, so you can or marching bass drum, so you can see the drum and part of my face, but the residual check clear is just the same as the guys in front, so I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I do on camera drum work. I'm also in the Gambler in the pep band.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a few others. My drums are stacked here in the back right here because I did a session on them a couple months ago and been rearranging my studio a little bit and playing for some friends and playing on my stuff and going to studios and everything. And then this year I branded a Twitch stream for my friend
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Layman, who used to work at Servio, so now she's just crushing it in the games world on her own. And
Mm-hmm.
I wrote some music for another friend of mine on a game I can't announce yet, and I scored a feature. And you've got just all these different places that you have to have things coming out from. And so to have something, especially I've got a wife and a kid in this house, and my daughter's three
And
and a half.
California tax paying to do.
My daughter's happened in preschool, and preschool in Los Angeles is not cheap,
No.
especially if you want. My daughter needs a little more attention. She wasn't thriving at her original preschool until we put her
Mm-hmm.
in the place that she's at now, and now it's been a godsend and a blessing, and I've met some of my closest friends there now because of this place. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not cheap, and and on my industry, the film world is not designed for family people. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's designed for folks that are willing to sacrifice everything to live the dream. And I knew that going into this.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told my mentor that we were having a kid, the first thing he said to me was, "Don't ever quit because you need money. Don't stop." That's real. People. I have friends that are a little bit more out there, and they will grind 18 hours a day, 7 days a week to get it, get it, get it, get it. And I was like that until my daughter was born, and then it just
Mm-hmm.
changed everything. And I'm not saying that I want the job or the dream less. I absolutely don't. That is the goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to figure out other ways of making it happen, because when COVID happened and the world shut down and all the work went away, my bond with my daughter grew into something that I probably wouldn't have had if the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic didn't happen. And I'm not willing to give that up
Mm-hmm.
for any job.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't have to, and no one should have to give up the idea of having a family, of having a marriage. The
Mm-hmm.
days of successful Oscar-winning artists all being divorced and miserable, those days should be gone.
Mm-hmm.
What? Why can't we make art, enjoy what we do, love what we do, and have a family and have the best of both?
Mm-hmm.
So if we can set ourselves up for success in that way, and this is where NFT, blockchain, and even scary crypto comes into handy,
Mm-hmm.
comes you're just earning extra income. I've found, if I could take this into crypto for a moment, I'm
Mm-hmm.
invested in 3 different tokens that each earn passive income.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is called passive income, which is great. And all the guys they've created a
Little
launch.
shout out for passive income.
They've actually created a launch pad to launch tokens and NFT platforms. They've successfully launched an NFT marketplace called Empire that's at about their tokens at about an 80 or 100 market cap, something like that. They've got a new thing coming live next month, a few days, and they're fully doxed and KYC'd. For those of you that don't know what that means, it means they are transparent. We know their names, faces, LinkedIn profiles, everything. We know who they are, so they can't just rug pull you. They pull the money out from under and make your coin worthless because we know who they are. There will be a very big murder investigation if that were to happen, and not by
I
any means.
suppose you'll be leading it, right?
Yeah. The idea is that, so for them, every token or platform that is created on their launchpad and affiliated with their system, 1% of every single transaction for every coin, every NFT sale, every transfer, 1% of all of that gets sent back to the holders of the passive income token. So as their platform expands to 20, 30, 40, 50 different platforms, each transaction is sending 1% back into the hands of the holders. That's real money. That's income.
I don't think people have fully realized. I mean, because now we start talking and looking at the fact that Bitcoin is sitting at what, $60,000 at the moment? Was it 54?
It's down at 46, 47.
46. Okay, so we've come down off that massive high. But people see that number and they think, oh, it's done. This is finished. And people kind of then pow out of us and don't realize how early we are in these things. Like DOAs. DOAs are just up and running now. You know what I mean? DOAs haven't been around more than what, 5 months?
You mean
6
the
months?
DAOs?
Yeah, DAOs.
Okay, yeah. Be careful with DAOs. I had a bad experience with one, but I'm not going to say anything
Oh
about
no,
it.
I'm not going anywhere near them at the moment. I think they're too new, and there's too little regulation going on, and there's too many things that are going around. I mean, the lawsuit that happened with cyberpunks, I think it was cyberpunks. Yeah, cyberpunks.
Okay.
There's starting to be some kickback against some of the copyright laws and how things are actually being done, which is interesting because it's been so necessary. But we're at the beginning. We're not at the end. We're not even at the middle yet.
No. And it's important to note that right now Bitcoin and Ethereum run the market. So what happens, just for everyone who is curious about crypto, maybe holds some Bitcoin in their Coinbase wallet and gets freaked out when Bitcoin goes from 60,000 to 47,000. Keep in mind that that is one token that's at the very, very top that has about $1 trillion market cap. The market cap is, you take the number of tokens or coins in circulation and you multiply that by the dollar amount of the token. That gives you the market cap. That basically means that's how many tokens people are holding or own of Bitcoin. So there's $1 trillion worth. So $1 trillion is already in that world. So in order for you to get to double your money, that number has to go to 2 trillion. So that's where altcoins come in. You find the ones, you have to do your research and find ones that have responsible teams where you can kind of learn people's names.
But I mean, that's a big scary world for people. I mean, you look how deep we've had to go down the rabbit hole and how much research we've had to do to actually be at the point where I'm comfortable standing up here and saying, okay, this is a project that I think has some legs, or this is a project that after a brief look through, I don't think is going anywhere.
Right.
I don't know if people are ready yet to put that much research into looking for these opportunities.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like stocks, right? Rivian is a good example. Rivian stock is worth what, 200 and something dollars a share, and they haven't even shipped a car yet. And right now, people are getting emails that are saying their truck is being delayed. Their truck delivery is being delayed a full year because they can't get them out. And if anyone remembers when Tesla's Model 3 first came out and they went to, I think Elon Musk called it, what was it, production purgatory? And he was sleeping under his desk at the factory because they were going through hell trying to get through 100 cars a day, trying to get through 200 cars a day, trying to get through 300 cars, trying to get themselves up to 10,000 cars a week. from like 600 cars a week to 10,000 cars a week. And it took them a couple of years to figure it out. And now the Model 3 has been out for what, 4 years? And they finally figured it out. And also, the Model S has been out now for about almost 10 years. Let's keep that in mind. The Model S has been around since, I think, 2011 or 2012. It's 2012 was the first Model S. So it took them 10 years to really figure out what's going to work. And Rivian is already sitting at a multi-billion-dollar valuation, and they
And
haven't
they
even.
haven't even moved one car.
So now let's compare this to crypto. People are investing in a car company and they've never even seen the car. They don't know what's going to happen with it or where it's going. This could fail miserably, and people that bought 2 shares, they lost $400. People that bought 100 shares will have lost $20,000. So crypto is very similar, just the money moves much faster this way and much faster this way. So
See, I
you
think the other thing that's interesting here is look. I'm going to ask you a personal question. What age bracket do you fall into?
I'm about to change that in next month. Right now I'm 18 to 34, and next month I'll move into 35.
So it's interesting to see that I'm finding a lot of people in this 30 to 40 age gap that are actually out trying to start big infrastructural level projects into metaverse and NFT spaces at the moment, because it kind of feels like this balance between the old people who've been talking about stocks and who've already got latency money into stocks. But people like us, I got to the US, I'm an immigrant. So I got to the US a couple of years ago and I had no stocks here. I'm starting at zero. Why do I want to buy into the S&P at $4,000 a share, or I can buy into some cryptocurrency at a lot lower rate with a lot more legs to the distance? And then NFTs takes that even a step further. Another thing I just want to mention here is for people to start thinking, or for other artists that we know to start looking at what are artists doing. We're looking at places to find income that are outside of our art because we have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have the security of a 9 to 5. Do you?
Yeah. My 9 to 5 is kind of becoming crypto investing right now and NFT music with you, Richard, and working on my other project, and then also seeing about movies that I'm going to be scoring in the next year. Uh,
Mhm,
it's a combination of everything, and it's a lot of hours, and when you have a kid, you kind of have to do the 12 hours worth of work in 8 to 9 hours a day
mhm,
and cram it in every day and figure it out and make it happen. And that's what I've been
mhm,
doing. Um, one more token I just really quickly want to talk about is called
mhm.
refi, and it's it's a new thing called farming as a service. And I bring that up because insert word here as a service is
Yes.
a very important thing. Blockchain
Mhm,
as a service, NFT as a service, farming as a service. It's basically where the utility comes into play. The
mhm,
utility of these tokens. So blockchain as a service is something that Tethermoon is creating, where they are building a green blockchain where businesses who need to present carbon offsets carbon offset certificates to the government because they're using a certain amount of energy and they have to show that they're also contributing
mhm,
to green energy, can invest in this blockchain and put their part of their business onto it or whatever and get these energy certificates for the government. So you're
mhm,
utilizing the blockchain as a service for the green energy. You could use the blockchain to hold onto all your secure files because you're minting them to the blockchain. So they're secure and unhackable that way, and unchangeable as well. So if there's a contract, like a physical contract that you've all signed, you can mint it to the blockchain, and no one can mess with it. No one can change the terms without telling you. And I think that's going to be the future of this world, is understanding that the service of this world is the utility. So for artists needing passive income, farming as a service is a big one. Where, for those of you that don't know, there's a term called farming in the crypto world, which is where you take the tokens that you own of a certain coin and you stake them back into the company, where your tokens get put into the pool and can be used by other people to buy, so more people can buy more tokens. And by you supplying your tokens, you will be paid additional tokens as revenue, as an income. That is a scary thing to do, though, because if that token collapses, doesn't matter if you're earning more of their token is worth nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're earning nothing. Um, Farming as a service is where the token that you are investing in, they have a treasury
Mm-hmm.
where a certain amount of money gets put into various tokens and they do it for you. And they have someone who is just an expert at this. And so they're earning dividends for the company. And a portion of those dividends gets rewarded to the people who have bought into the token. And it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a form of passive income. And
Mm-hmm.
if anyone has any more questions, they're welcome to message me about it, and I'll go into a much longer talk about it because we don't have that much time to
See,
do.
this is what
But
happens when you start down the rabbit holes. And I know that Jeremy and I both started pretty much at the same time down these rabbit holes, and it's massively divergent to see the different pathways that artists can take now. And I think of all things that I want to talk about with this, it was definitely to sit as two artists and let people see what we're thinking,
yeah,
because there's so much talk about what are professional artists doing. And here's it, guys. I earn my money from my photos. That's it. That's how I make my life. Jeremy, how you make your life is music. I mean, it has been for me for the last 20 odd years, but not many people realize how much goes into that and how much work it takes to actually live as an artist, because it's not a 9 to 5. It's all day, every day. And this has started to finally feel like NFTs and crypto and so on are starting to give us that ability to spend more time perfecting our crafts.
that's exactly it. It's passive income. It's the future. I think more and more companies are going to start utilizing blockchain. I think art is going to end
Mm.
up on blockchain. It's going to get there eventually. It
I
may
think there's another add-on effect that's been quite interesting, that it's interesting to see how it's come into artists. You mean people who are creatives are leading this charge, where you think of most of the things that have been led in business have been accountants and hedge funds and VCs and so on, and they're what's been leading the charge into the business world. It's nice to actually have something here that's a creative charge.
Yeah,
You mean it's actually a world that the creatives not only get to play in, but we get to grow, and we get to expand our creative muscles a little bit into something we haven't been able to play with, and actually be able to be full-time artists, and not, hi, I'm an artist, but I'm a bartender. I mean, it's
it's community based. Just like,
mm-hmm,
going to concerts was all about, calling your friends and saying what's the next show coming into town. My old band's like, today it's all about playlisting and digital everything, but back in the back when I was in high school, early 2000s, we would just print flyers, like little flyers like this big, and we'd get a stack like this thick, and we would just find a show at the House of Blues or at the Whiskey with
mm-hmm,
bands that were similar but bigger, and we would divide up. Each of us took 100 flyers, and we would just go hand them out to everyone. And about 90% of them would end up on the floor or in the trash, and you'd find them everywhere. But then you'd get a few people coming to your show, and there's community engagement. And, oh, how'd you hear
mm-hmm,
about the band? I heard about them from this show, and I saw their flyer, and it looked interesting. And I
mm-hmm,
think this is the digital equivalent. It's art for the sake of
mm-hmm,
art, and people uploading pictures of their foreheads and calling it NFTs and selling it for $500,000. That's going to go away, and that's not forever. And soon
mm-hmm,
the artists, the quality will speak for itself, and that's where art's going to become valuable again. And I think it's a great thing.
Well, that seems like a perfect way to round this out. Jeremy, it's such a pleasure to be able to talk with a fellow artist about what's happening, what you see, where you see this going, and the fun that you're having with it.
Yeah,
And it's also incredible to be collaborating with you. I cannot wait for our first drop to go out there and for people to see what we've been working on for the last few months. I'm really looking forward to it, and I've enjoyed the last couple of months of working on this together immensely. Thank you.
of course, my pleasure.
Okay, everyone, thanks for joining us this evening, and we will be here again next week in our new time slot. So remember, next week we will be here 1 hour earlier, so that'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So thanks all for joining us, and we'll see you next week.